You're watching VinylicPumaGaming. So there are a lot of really good enchantments available to the player in Skyrim. Today, I want to talk about what I think are some of the best enchantments that are available in the game. Before we start, I won't be including unique enchantments that are found on specific unique or Daedric weapons and items. So, for example, I won't be including the unique weapon enchantment that is included on the Dragonbane sword or the unique enchantment that appears on the Bloodskull blade. I'm going to only discuss enchantments that can be learned from disenchanting various weapons and armors that you can find during your travels. Also, before anyone is surprised by the fact that I didn't include a certain armor enchantment, I'm going to mention that the types of armor enchantments you choose will mostly be based on your build. So if you're using one-handed weapons, you're probably not going to want armor with the Fortify two-handed enchantment. Or maybe if you have a sneak build, you may want to have Fortify Illusion or Fortify Archery if you plan on using bows or illusion magic. So just to clarify, I am focusing on enchantments that will be useful for most builds. With all of that out of the way, these are what I think are 9 of some of the best weapon and armor enchantments available to the player in Elder Scrolls Skyrim Remastered, starting now. Number 9. MUFFLE. MUFFLE is a pretty straightforward enchantment. It's based off of an illusion spell of the same name that allows the player to move quietly for a period of time. The difference between the spell and this enchantment is that MUFFLE will always be active on the boots that you enchanted, which puts it above the MUFFLE spell in that respect. The downside is that the MUFFLE enchantment provides only half the effectiveness of the MUFFLE spell. But even still, I would say if you're invested in sneak, and if you don't plan on using illusion spells at all, boots with the MUFFLE enchantment are really good. You may find this enchantment is very rare to come by, as unique items that contain this enchantment can't be disenchanted. The upside to that is that the quality of the soul gem nor the player character's enchanting abilities affect the strength of this enchantment. So if you really wanted to, you could fill a petty soul gem with a petty soul, and you could apply this enchantment to your favorite piece of armor. If you're primarily playing a stealth character, boots with the MUFFLE enchantment are going to be the way to go for sneaking. Number 8. Fiery Soul Trap. Now, Fiery Soul Trap is actually a rare weapon enchantment that appears on a weapon located in Ironbind Barrow. This version of Soul Trap combines the effects of Soul Trap with the fire damage enchantment from the Destruction School. Just like the regular Soul Trap enchantment, Fiery Soul Trap also falls under the Conjuration School of Magic and benefits from the Fortify Conjuration armor enchantment. As you might guess, this works like regular Soul Trap, however it also deals fire damage to an enemy as well. It's sort of weird and cool at the same time, and the best part is that Fiery Soul Trap not only adds the additional fire damage, but it also allows for more charges than the regular Soul Trap as well. And really for this reason, Fiery Soul Trap makes regular Soul Trap totally obsolete and redundant for enchanting. Otherwise, it's interesting that the fire damage portion isn't affected by the Fire Enchanter perk from the enchanting tree. However, the Augmented Flames perk from the Destruction perk tree can improve the fire damage that is a part of this enchantment. It's kind of weird that Fire Enchanter doesn't work while Augmented Flames does. Otherwise, if you decide you need Soul Trap on your weapon, you're probably going to want the Fiery Soul Trap version because it is not only going to provide you with more charges, but you're also getting some fire damage as well. Number 7. Fortify Destruction. Depending on how you look at it, this armor enchantment should be higher on this list. At the same time, I figured I would include it early so that no one is confused by some of the gameplay that you guys are going to be seeing later. In my view, Fortify Destruction is one of the best Fortify magic armor enchantments in Skyrim. However, there is some good and bad news, so we'll go ahead and we'll start with the bad news first. Now, unlike Fortify Destruction potions, this enchantment doesn't increase the strength of your spells and instead reduces the MAGICKA cost of them. So, assuming you had enough pieces with strong enough enchantments, you can feasibly get 100% reduced magicka cost for destruction spells. The good news is that the Fortify Destruction enchantment can affect the soul consumption of enchanted weapons, and if you have 100% reduced cost, most weapon enchantments will not consume any charge, and of the 18 weapon enchantments, 10 of them benefit from this enchantment. And to give you some vague idea, things like absorb health, magicka, stamina, fire damage, frost damage, shock damage, and chaos damage all benefit from the Fortify Destruction armor enchantment. This enchantment in particular is my favorite of the Fortify magic enchantments in Skyrim. While you may find your corresponding school of magic as a magic user is better, if you plan on using things like chaos damage and absorb health, Fortify Destruction is the way to go. Number 6. Absorb Magicka. While Absorb Magicka and Absorb Stamina are interchangeable depending on who you're fighting and what kind of build you have, I think that Absorb Magicka is my favorite of the two. While I'll leave it to you to decide which one is better for your playstyle, I think I've had the best experience with Absorb Magicka since I tend to play a Battle Mage type character. Like most of the other weapon enchantments, Absorb Magicka is from the Destruction School of Magic, and as you might have guessed, Absorb Magicka deals damage directly to an enemy's magicka bar and restores your magicka for a portion of that damage dealt. Remember that this absorbs magicka and doesn't deal damage to an enemy's health bar. Your actual weapon that you're using does that. This enchantment is pretty good up against mages. It's possible to quickly remove their magicka, forcing them to fight with melee weapons or other weapons that they don't usually specialize with. And you may also find that Absorb Magicka works best on weapons with a fast attack speed. The ability to perform a number of strikes in quick succession can drain an enemy's magicka even faster while restoring your magicka just as fast. This is a good weapon enchantment for mages and non-mages alike. However, you may find that you like Absorb Stamina too, so you could use those interchangeably, but I'm picking Absorb Magicka. Number 5. Paralyze. I've always found the Paralyze effect in Skyrim to be pretty amusing. The Paralyze enchantment is similar to the Alteration spell of the same name from the Alteration School of Magic. Now, Paralyze is the only weapon enchantment that is from the Alteration School and is affected by Fortify Alteration enchantments on armor. The way the Paralyze enchantment works is you get a certain percentage chance to paralyze the target. Assuming the target is paralyzed, they will immediately freeze up and they won't be able to move or attack you until this effect wears off. This enchantment is actually pretty useful up against most enemies in the game. The ability to totally cancel their ability to fight back can be extremely useful in tough fights. While some enemies can't be paralyzed, most enemies in the game can be. So I don't think you'll have any problem most of the time. There's not a whole lot else to say about this particular enchantment, but if you like the Paralyze effect, you're going to like this enchantment. Number 4. Resist Magic. As far as resistance enchantments go, I would say that Resist Magic is going to be the most all-encompassing and useful for the player. While specific elemental resistances are also good, keep in mind that Resist Magic also covers all forms of elemental damage in addition to Dragon Breath attacks. Magic resistance as a status effect is capped at 85%, and depending on what apparel you have, the race you've selected, your level in the Mage Resistance perk, and whether you have activated the Lord Stone or not, it's possible to achieve this maximum resistance without enchanting all 3 of the compatible items, which are a shield, amulet, and ring. If you're playing as a Breton, just remember that you're already at 25% magic resistance, so it shouldn't be too hard to reach that 85% cap. Now, you may find this to be more difficult on other races, but I wouldn't say it's entirely impossible or anything. Now, assuming you have the highest physical damage resistance, as well as the maxed out magic resistance, you're going to be pretty difficult to kill, especially if you have weapons with life steal. Speaking of life steal, number 3, Absorb Health. If you ask me, it's pretty hard to find any fault with the Absorb Health enchantment. Like many of the other weapon enchantments, Absorb Health is from the Destruction School. If you couldn't tell by the name, this enchantment deals extra damage to the enemy while also healing the player for a portion of the damage dealt. So if your sword deals 40 base damage and the Absorb Health enchantment deals an additional 10 to 15 damage, you should deal 50 to 55 damage while restoring 10 to 15 of your health points. As I mentioned earlier with Absorb MAGICKA, you may find that this ability works best on weapons with high attack speeds. This way you can get in multiple strikes, allowing this effect to stack and not only quickly deal damage, but also quickly heal your character. Now, while this isn't necessarily combat related, the Absorb Health enchantment can greatly increase the value of the weapon that's enchanted with it. The most valuable enchantment for weapons is Banish, but I ultimately think that you'll find the Absorb Health enchantment is much more useful to you. Once you combine this with the Fortify Destruction enchantments on armor, it's possible to create something on par with, if not better, than the Ebony Blades enchantment. Number 2, Chaos Damage. While the Fire, Frost, and Shock damage enchantments are good, I think we can all probably agree that while it may not be quite as reliable, the Chaos damage enchantment is stronger. In case you didn't know, the Chaos damage enchantment has a 50% chance of each element of Fire, Frost, and Shock damage to deal damage. Because of that, every time you swing your weapon or shoot your bow or whatever you use, you have 8 different outcomes as to what kind of damage you can deal. So one time you might deal Fire and Shock, while the next time you might deal all 3, and so on. The Chaos damage enchantment, like other elemental magic enchantments, does benefit from the augmented Flames, Frost, and Shock perks from the Destruction tree. This allows you to increase the strength of the effects beyond the initial enchantment that you are able to create. Also, like the other elemental magic enchantments, Chaos damage benefits from the Fire, Frost, and Storm enchanter perks from the enchanting tree as well. If you're considering using this enchantment, you may want to use a Stalrim weapon, as the Chaos damage enchantment becomes 25% stronger when placed on weapons that are crafted from Stalrim. I'd say if you plan on dealing elemental damage of any sort, and you don't mind the occasional randomness, the Chaos damage enchantment is for you. And the final enchantment to rule them all, number 1. Fortify Alchemy and Fortify Smithing. Now, I know these are 2 different enchantments, but they largely do similar things, and I think that they are at their best when combined together. Fortify Alchemy increases the strength of the potions you create, while Fortify Smithing improves the strength of your weapons and armor by a certain percentage. If you plan on creating super overpowered armor and weapons in Skyrim, you're going to need both of these enchantments either on the same or different pieces of armor. The idea is to get your enchanting and alchemy skills to 100, along with acquiring the Benefactor, Alchemist, Enchanter, Insightful Enchanter, and the extra effect perks, and have those perks maxed out. Then you craft a set of Fortify Alchemy / Smithing armor that consists of both enchantments on the amulet, ring, and bracers, and then you could put the Fortify Alchemy enchantment on the helmet, and then you could put the Fortify Smithing enchantment on the chest. With this suit equipped, you can then craft a Fortify Enchanting potion, drink it, and perform this process again for slightly improved enchantments and higher quality improvements on your armors, as well as making better potions too. And then from there, you can even do this again for even better enchantments if you decided to do so. Once you have the ultimate crafting armor equipped, all you have to do is drink a Fortify Enchanting potion before you enchant, and a Fortify Smithing potion before you improve weapons and armor. You'll find that this will ultimately yield very powerful results. Really, both of these enchantments make all of the others possible, and I think that's why both are really the best. Alright guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and as always, take care, and I'll see you all next time.